impressive system you just saw in action is the Pantsir Zone. It costs $15 million and is considered the crown jewel of Russian air defense. Many even say it is the most advanced point defense system in the world. After all, it is the only one that combines guided missiles and automatic cannons on a single platform. And that explains why this system has been adopted by more than 10 countries. And you know how it's marketed? They say it's indestructible, that it's the last line of defense, that it practically never fails. And do you want to know what it was really designed for? To kill drones. But Ukraine has once again proven that even the best system in the world has a weakness. In June 2025, in Zaporizhia, something happened that many considered impossible. That very system you just saw working perfectly was destroyed. Not just one, but several of them. And you want to know what's even more impressive? Among them, there was an even more expensive system worth $100 million. It's ironic to think, but they were destroyed by exactly the thing they were supposed to stop. Drones. And the way they did it is, well, impressive. Pay close attention to these images. They are real and were captured by Ukraine's own Directorate of Intelligence. You are seeing what a Ukrainian drone operator sees. Their own drone approaching a feared Russian Pantsir system. Notice how the drone flies low, slowly, almost as if it were taking a stroll across the battlefield. The Pantsir detects the threat and does exactly what it's supposed to do. It fires a $50,000 missile at the drone, but look at what happens. The missile simply flies right past the drone. $50,000 down the drain. The Russian crew then changes strategy and starts using the 30mm cannons. And here, something interesting happens. The first Ukrainian drone is shot down. The Russian crew must have thought, we did it, we intercepted the threat. But this is where the story gets really fascinating. Pay attention to what happens now, because Ukraine didn't send just one drone. They sent two. And while the Russians were celebrating having taken down the first, a second drone was already on a collision course. And here you see the brilliance of the Ukrainian tactic. The first drone was a decoy. It was sent to force the Pantsir to reveal its position, to expend ammunition, and most importantly, to follow a standard procedure that the Ukrainians already knew very well. As soon as it takes down a threat, the Pantsir crew always does the same thing. They move the system to a new position. It's basic military protocol, but the Ukrainians knew that. And it was exactly at that moment, when the Pantsir was moving, that the second drone attacked. Pay close attention to the point of impact. The drone didn't blow up the entire vehicle. It specifically hit the combat module, the part responsible for controlling all the weapon systems. This is what the military calls a mission kill, when you don't need to completely destroy a piece of equipment to render it useless. The Pantsir can still move, it can still detect targets, but it can no longer fire. It basically turned into a useless metal box worth $15 million. But if you thought that was impressive, just wait until you see what happened to the second system. The footage now shows another drone, elsewhere in Zaporizhia, approaching a much more valuable target, a Buk M3 system. This one is even more expensive, costing up to $100 million. It's one of Russia's most modern air defense systems, capable of shooting down planes and missiles from 70 kilometers away. But here's the most ironic part of this whole story. A system that can detect a supersonic fighter jet from 100 kilometers away, it couldn't spot a drone flying at 50 kilometers per hour just 30 meters above the ground. The drone approaches almost leisurely and hits the radar section directly. Without the radar, the system is completely blind. It could have all the missiles in the world, but it can't find its targets. $100 million completely neutralized. Now, let me explain something that will shock you. The technology behind these drones is nothing extraterrestrial. In fact, it's surprisingly simple. Ukraine developed a way to control these drones using fiber optics. A cable as thin as a strand of hair that unspools as the drone flies. This makes the drone completely immune to any kind of electronic interference. The Russians can try to jam radio signals, they can use electronic warfare, it doesn't matter. The drone remains physically connected to the operator. And there's more. These drones use artificial intelligence for the final phase of the attack. The human operator guides the drone close to the target, identifies the specific spot they want to hit, and then the artificial intelligence takes over. Even if the Russians manage to cut the signal, the drone already knows exactly where to strike. It's a perfect combination of human intelligence and machine precision. These scenes you just saw happen in Zaporizhia. And do you want to know why it's so important? Because Putin placed some of his best air defense systems to protect this region. The answer lies in the nuclear power plant of Zaporizhia, the largest in Europe. Before the war, this plant generated almost half of all nuclear energy in Ukraine. It's too big a prize to ignore, worth billions of dollars. And Putin knows that. Since he captured the plant in 2022, he has used it as a kind of human shield. He places troops and military equipment inside the complex, knowing that Ukraine can't risk an attack. That could cause a nuclear disaster. It's a cowardly tactic, but an effective one. That's why precision drone strikes are so important. They allow Ukraine to attack legitimate military targets without putting the plant at risk. And here's a detail the media doesn't usually mention. The Zaporizhia region isn't important just because of the plant. It's part of the so-called Russian land bridge, the corridor of territory that connects mainland Russia to Crimea. Putin needs this corridor because without it, Crimea is dependent solely on the Kerch Bridge, which has already been attacked several times by Ukraine. Every air defense system that Ukraine destroys in Zaporizhia weakens Russia's ability to defend this land bridge. It's vital. Now, let's talk numbers, because they're impressive. With the two systems destroyed in this operation, Ukraine eliminated between $60 and $115 million worth of Russian military equipment. And you know how much the drones that did this cost? Probably less than $1,000 each. It's a brutal equation that shows how modern warfare has changed completely. It's no longer about who has the most expensive equipment. It's about who is smarter, more adaptable, more creative. And this was not an isolated operation. According to Ukrainian data, Russia is losing between 300 and 350 air defense systems per year. That means almost one system per day. And here's the problem. The Russians are not managing to replace these systems. The reason? They can't produce new systems as fast as they are losing the old ones. International sanctions carry significant weight at this moment, as they have made it harder to access the advanced electronic components needed. So Putin is being forced to make a tough choice. Withdraw air defense systems from other regions of Russia to make up for the losses in Ukraine. And do you want to know what he's putting in their place? It's hard to believe, but it's true. They're putting in fake systems, inflatable replicas, which only serve to fool low-resolution satellites It's a clear sign of desperation. And this has consequences, global consequences. Countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, and even Brazil have already bought Pansir systems thinking they were acquiring cutting-edge technology. Now, they're seeing these same systems being destroyed by cheap drones in Ukraine. Now, just stop for a moment and think about what the conversations must be like in the defense ministries of those countries. Did we spend millions on systems that don't work? It definitely creates a crisis of confidence in Russian military technology, and that's going to have impacts for decades. There's also a psychological aspect to this war that few people talk about. The constant fear these drones cause among Russian troops. Imagine being a Russian soldier and knowing that at any moment a drone could appear in the sky. There's simply nowhere for you to hide. The military has even come up with a term for this. They call it drone shock. It's a specific type of trauma caused by the constant and invisible threat of drones. And this is no joke. Russian troops constantly report anxiety, trouble sleeping, and a constant state of alertness that is physically and mentally exhausting. Ukraine isn't just destroying equipment, it's breaking down the psychological state of its enemies. And here's another fascinating detail. Ukraine isn't keeping its tactics a secret. They post videos of these attacks on social media, on Telegram, on YouTube videos like the ones I just showed you. And do you want to know why? Because each video also serves as a psychological weapon. Every image of a Russian system being destroyed sends a clear message to all Russian troops, showing them that they are not safe anywhere. This is psychological warfare at the highest level. But let me tell you something that's going to impress you even more. This operation in Zaporizhia is part of a much larger campaign. In March 2025, Ukraine had already destroyed several Panzer systems in Crimea using the same tactics. In April, they destroyed 3 Buk M3 systems in just 12 hours. In June, besides the operation in Zaporizhia, they destroyed another Buk M3 in a different region. It's a pattern, a systematic strategy to weaken Russian air defenses throughout the occupied territory. It seems that Ukraine is methodically preparing the ground for something bigger. In military doctrine, operations like these are called shaping operations. You weaken the enemy's defenses before launching a larger offensive. And in this sense, every Pantsir, every Buk, every air defense system destroyed opens a gap in the Russian defensive coverage, and these gaps can be used in the future for even broader operations. Everything indicates that the main objective is to cut the Russian land bridge. If Ukraine manages to advance south to the Sea of Azov, it completely isolates the Russian forces in Crimea, and without adequate air defenses, this operation becomes much more feasible. Now think with me, if you were a Russian general today, how would you feel? Your best air defense systems, the ones you trusted the most, are being systematically hunted down and destroyed by drones that cost less than a cell phone. Your economy is under sanctions, your military production is limited, and you are being forced to use fake systems to cover the gaps. It's a desperate situation, no doubt, but this situation doesn't just affect Russia. It is having global effects that go far beyond Eastern Europe. Look, Russia used to be one of the world's largest arms exporters, especially of air defense systems. Developing countries bought Russian technology because it was cheaper than Western alternatives. But now, after seeing these systems being humiliated in Ukraine, many of these countries are rethinking their purchases. Russia's military reputation, built over decades, is collapsing in real time. What happened in Zaporizhia in June 2025 was not just a simple tactical victory for Ukraine. It was, in fact, a truly powerful and unmistakable demonstration that without a doubt, the rules of war have changed forever. It's no longer about having the most expensive equipment, it's about having the most suitable equipment. It's not about brute force, it's about intelligence and adaptability. Ukraine understood this before anyone else and is using this advantage to face a much larger and wealthier adversary. Now, I want to know your opinion. Do you think the future of warfare will be dominated by cheap and smart drones? Or will traditional and more expensive systems continue to be used? Leave your answer in the comments. If you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.